Arise, ye prisoners of starvation. Arise, ye wretched of the earth. For justice thunders condemnation, and a better world is in birth. No more tradition's chains shall bind us. Arise, ye slaves, no more in thrall. The earth shall rise on new foundations. We have been naught, we shall be all. 'Tis the final conflict. Let all stand in their place. The international working class shall be the human race. We want no condescending saviors to rule us from the judgment hall. We workers ask not for their favors. We must consult for all. To make the thieves give up their booty, to free the spirit from the cell, each must themselves decide their duty. They must decide and do it well. 'Tis the final conflict. Let all stand in their place. The international working class shall be the human race. 'Tis the final conflict. Let all stand in their place. The international working class shall be the human race. Conditions, they are bad, and some of you are sad. You cannot see your enemy, the class that lives in luxury. You working folks are poor, will be forevermore, as long as you permit the few to guide your destiny. Shall we still be slaves and work for wages? It is outrageous, has been for ages. This earth by right belongs to toilers, and not to spoilers of liberty. The master class is small, but they have lots of gall. When we unite to gain our right, if they resist, we'll use our might. There is no middle ground. This fight must be one round. To victory for liberty, our class is marching on. Shall we still be slaves and work for wages? It is outrageous, has been for ages. This earth by right belongs to toilers, and not to spoilers of liberty. So working folks unite. We must pick up a fight to make us free from slavery and capitalistic tyranny. This fight is not in vain. We've got a world to gain. Will you be a fool, a capitalist tool, and serve your enemy? Shall we still be slaves and work for wages? It is outrageous, has been for ages. This earth by right belongs to toilers, not to spoilers of liberty. It is May Day Eve, everyone. I thought rather than, ramble about the news or just talk, I would speak to you some of the great lyrics of revolutionary working class music. Because in a lot of ways, these songs, they really are little manifestos in and of themselves. And there's a lot of these old communist songs, these old communist hymns from the industrial workers of the world or from the Communist Party that are forgotten, that you haven't heard before. There's a few that we know, that Pete Seeger and all of them will sing, but some of the best ones, because they're so to the point and they're so explicit, you don't hear them as much, but there's a lot of them that are just beautiful and to the point. Oliver Stone film, and I'm writing the super chats down. Between songs, I'll roll up and write it down. So I wrote down the Oliver Stone film. But yeah, I'm just going to read you for my opening, of this live. I've just got some of the greatest communist songs, and I'm going to recite their lyrics for you today. I'm not going to sing them for you, but I'm just going to recite the lyrics to some of the greatest communist anthems we've ever heard, one by one. Learning philosophy, an asset. Learning philosophy, an asset. Should we study? All right. So I'll just continue. In the gloom of mighty cities, mid the roar of whirling wheels, we are toiling on like chattel slaves of old. and our masters hope to keep us ever thus beneath their heels, and to coin our very lifeblood into gold. But we have a glowing dream of how fair the world will seem when each man can live his life secure and free, when the earth is owned by labor, and there's joy and peace for all in the commonwealth of toil that is to be. They would keep us cowed and beaten, crying meekly at their feet. They would stand between each worker and his bread. Shall we yield our lives up to them for the bitter crust we eat? Shall we only hope for heaven when we're dead? But we have a glowing dream of how fair the world will seem when each can live his life secure and free, when the earth is owned by labor and there's joy and peace for all in the commonwealth of toil that is to be. They have laid our lives out for us to this utter end of time. Shall we stagger on beneath their heavy load? Shall we let them live forever in their gilded halls of crime, with our children doomed to toil beneath their gold? But we have a glowing dream of how fair the world will seem when each can live his life secure and free, when the earth is owned by labor and there's joy and peace for all in the commonwealth of toil that is to be. When our cause is all triumphant and we reclaim our Mother Earth and the nightmare of the present fades away, we shall live with love and laughter, we who now are little worth, and will not regret the price we had to pay. For we have a glowing dream of how fair the world will seem when each can live his life secure and free, when the earth is owned by labor and there's joy and peace for all in the commonwealth of toil that is to be. And thank you, David Fox, for the super chat. David Fox sent me a lovely t-shirt representing his union, Proud to be Union, which I'm wearing. I thought nothing more appropriate for a May Day Eve live. This is fun, folks. I love these songs, by the way. These songs, if I could sing them every day, I would sing them every day. And I'm not going to be on here singing. I don't have musical accompaniment, and I'm not a musician, really. I sing, I don't even fully sing, as I think it was Lily pointed out. I kind of half-ass it. I'm kind of speak singing. So I'm not going to sing them all to you, but I'm just going to keep reciting some of these lyrics from the forgotten communist songs that we need to hear. And thank you, David Fox, for this amazing t-shirt. Proud to be Union. Yeah, there you go. Let's just keep doing these working class songs for May Day. Come with us, you working men, and join the rebel band. Come, you discontented ones, and give a helping hand. We march against the parasite to drive him from the land with one big industrial union. Hurrah! Hurrah! We're gonna paint her red. Hurrah! Hurrah! The way is clear ahead. We're gaining shop democracy with liberty and bread with one big industrial union. In factory and field and mine, we gather with our might. We're on the job and know the way to win the hardest fight. For the beacon that shall guide us out of darkness into light is one big industrial union. Hurrah, hurrah, we're gonna paint her red. Hurrah, hurrah, the way is clear ahead. We're gaining shop democracy with liberty and bread with one big industrial union. We hate this rotten system more than any mortals do. Our aim is not to patch it up, but build it all anew. And what we'll have for government, when finally it's through, is one big industrial union. Hurrah, hurrah, we're gonna paint it red. Hurrah, hurrah, the way is clear ahead. We're gaining shop democracy with liberty and bread and one big industrial union. Next one. Because a man is human, he wants... 3, 2, 1. I'm counting down. There you go. And because a man is human, he'll want to eat, and thanks a lot, but talk can't take the place of meat or fill an empty pot. So left 2, 3, so left 2, 3, comrade, there's a place for you. Take your stand in the workers' united front, for you are a worker too. And because a man is human, he won't care for a kick in the face. He doesn't want slaves under him, or above him a ruling class. So left 2-3, so left 2-3. There's work, comrade, there's a place for you. Take your stand in the workers' united front, for you are a worker too. And because a worker is a worker, no one else will bring him liberty. It's nobody's work but the worker's own to set the worker free. So left 2-3, so left 2-3. Comrade, there's a place for you. Take your stand in the workers' united front, for you are a worker too. All right. Spanish heavens spread their brilliant starlight high above our trenches in the plain. In the distance, morning comes to greet us, calling us to battle once again. Far off is our home, yet ready we stand, fighting and winning for you, freedom. We'll not yield a foot to Franco's fascists, even though the bullets fall like sleet. We stand those perilous men our comrades, and for us there can be no retreat. Far off is our home, yet ready we stand. We're fighting and winning for you, freedom. Beat the drum and ready the bayonets. Forward march, victory our reward. With our scarlet banner smash their column. Failman Battalion, forward march. Far off is our home, yet ready we stand. We're fighting and winning for you, freedom. That's a good one, isn't it? Let's think of another one. All right, we'll do another one. I think I can do it from memory. They're spending billions every year on guns and ammunition, their army and their navy dear to keep in good condition, while millions live in misery and millions die before us. Don't sing my country 'tis of thee, but sing this little chorus. Should I ever be a soldier, 'neath the red flag I will fight. Should a gun I ever shoulder, it's to crush the boss's might. Join the army of the toilers, men and women fall in line. Wage slaves of the world unite, do your duty for the cause of land and liberty. They killed 1 million Vietnamese to keep their profits flowing. They tell us they're omnipotent and their system will keep growing. They'll soon send troops to Africa to help defend apartheid, but we'll turn their fascist guns around and make this one their last ride. Should I ever be a soldier, beneath the red flag I will fight. Should a gun I ever shoulder, it's to crush the boss's might. Join the army of the toilers, men and women fall in line. Wage slaves of the world unite, do your duty for the cause of land and liberty. The boss's politicians say we must vote our convictions. There's nothing wrong with capitalism, just needs a little fixin'. But communists around the world, we have the real solution. Reforms won't lead to workers' power. What we need is revolution. Should I ever be a soldier, 'neath the red flag I will fight. Should a gun I ever shoulder, it's to crush the boss's might. Join the army of the toilers, men and women fall in line. Wage slaves of the world unite. Do your duty for the cause of land and liberty. Great stuff, just great stuff. Another good one. The men and women on the line, working overtime, sweating for a dime. Their labor's stolen from them. They're not paid what it's worth, but someday they shall rule the earth. Here's to the tillers of our land, bending down in toil, harvesting the soil, working in the cold and heat, growing rice and wheat. Someday they shall rule the earth. And as for the killers of our dream, the fat cats with their scheme, their hungry war machine, the bankers and the businessmen, those noble men from birth. Someday we'll drive them from the earth. Yeah, that's great stuff. There's another good one. We've traveled round this country from shore to shining shore, and it really made us angry, the things we heard and saw. We saw the garment workers pushing racks for all the stores, getting paid $2 an hour. Their boss is rich and they are poor. But the banks are made of marble, with a guard at every door, and those vaults are stuffed with silver that the workers sweated for. And we've seen the folks on welfare, with no clothes or food to eat, while the rich man cuts the budget and he lives on Easy Street. But the banks are made of marble, with a guard at every door, and the vaults are stuffed with silver that the workers sweated for. We've seen the workers fighting throughout this boss's land, and we're gonna get together and together make a stand that we will own those banks of marble with a guard at every door, and we will share those vaults of silver that the workers sweated for. Yes, we'll smash those banks of marble and kick the bosses out the door, and we will share that wealth of silver that we all have sweated for. Beautiful stuff, beautiful stuff. I mean, so many of these forgotten anthems of Marxism. So many of them. I'm trying to think if I can think of another one. Ugh. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. But what force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one? But the union makes us strong. Right? It is we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines and built the workshops, endless miles of railroad laid. But now we stand outcast and starving amid the wonders we have made. But the union makes us strong. Yeah. What are the other verses to that song? Yeah, that's great. That's great. There's so many great communist anthems out there. So many great ones, right? So many great, beautiful communist anthems. So many of them, right? I mean, I couldn't do them all, tonight. Trying to think if there's any other good ones I could do, right? But these are the ones you don't hear. You'll hear Pete Seeger and all of them. Here's one. A little bit of a controversial one, and I stand by the content of this song despite being a Christian. Classic, widely loved song. Many folk singers have recorded it. I first heard this song, and I didn't even know it was written by a communist when I first heard it. I heard it at a folk concert when I was a small child, right? Long-haired preachers come out every night, try to tell you what's wrong and what's right, but when asked about something to eat, they will answer in voices so sweet, "You will eat by and by in that glorious land in the sky. Work and pray, live on hay, 'cause you'll get pie in the sky when you die." That's a lie. And the Starvation Army, they play, and they shout and they jump and they pray. When they get all your coins on that drum, they will tell you when you're on the bum, you will eat by and by in that glorious land in the sky. Work and pray, live on hay, you'll get pie in the sky when you die. And if you work hard throughout your whole life, fight the bosses, both husband and wife, then you're a sinner or a bad one, they tell. When you die, you will sure go to hell. And you'll eat by and by in that glorious land in the sky. Work and pray, live on hay, 'cause you'll get pie in the sky when you die. That's a lie. Working folks of all countries unite. Side by side, we for freedom shall fight. And when this world and its wealth we have gained, to the bosses we'll sing this refrain. You will eat by and by when you've learned how to cook and how to fry. chop some wood, do you good, and you'll eat, and that's sweet by and by. Yeah, I mean, this is beautiful stuff. This is beautiful, beautiful stuff. The songs of Joe Hill. I mean, this is great stuff. This is great stuff. This is working class music. This is working class lyrics. These songs are like mini manifestos. I feel like in some cases you could probably learn more from just reading the lyrics of these songs than you could ever learn from listening to BreadTube. I swear, you learn more from this than you ever learn listening to BreadTube. I mean, it's all there in the songs. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Let's see if we can find another one for you. Another good one, right? Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if we can find another good one. If you could make a movie about any historical figure, right? Make a movie of historical figure. I'm having a great time, folks. This is great. Just reading off communist lyrics. Let's see if there's another song I can pull up for you. Right? All right. Can you talk about the allegation that William Z. Foster supported the racist trope? All right. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Racist trope, Foster. Okay. All right. All right. Here's a good one. And it actually, oddly, even though the song was written in 1915, the lyrics are just as true today, and they speak to what's going on with the computer revolution. Bill Brown was just a working man, like others of his kind, lost his job and tramped the street when work was hard to find. The landlord put him on the stem, the bankers took his dough, and Bill heard everybody sing no matter where he'd go. It's a long way to the soup line, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to the soup line, and the soup is thin, I know. Goodbye, good old pork chops. Farewell, beefsteak rare. It's a long way to the soup line, but my soup is there. So Bill and 16 million men responded to the call to force the hours of labor down and thus make jobs for all. They picketed the industries and won a 4-hour day and organized a general strike so men don't have to say, it's a long way down to the soup line. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to the soup line, and the soup is thin, I know. Goodbye, good old pork chops. Farewell, beefsteak rare. It's a long way to the soup line, and my soup is there. The workers own the factories now, where jobs were once destroyed by big machines that fill the world with hungry unemployed. They all own homes, they're living well, they're happy, free, and strong, but millionaires wear overalls and sing this little song. It's a long way down to the soup line. It's a long way to go. It's a long way down to the soup line, and the soup is thin, I know. Goodbye, good old pork chops. Farewell, beefsteak rare. It's a long way down to the soup line, but my soup is there. Right? Now that last verse is particularly Marxist, right? The workers own the factories now where jobs were once destroyed by big machines that fill the world with hungry unemployed. That's exactly what's going on right now. Under capitalism, technological progress leads to poverty. You know, the more you advance technology, the more hunger and unemployment you get. It's completely irrational. All right, nuclear power. All right. Completely irrational. You know, and then the next line, they all own homes. What? They all own homes? You mean we want people to own things? You mean we're you know, they're living well. Yes, their living standards have gone up. Yes, we want to raise living standards. They're happy, free, and strong, but millionaires wear overalls. Yeah, this is Marxism. The people who wrote these songs understood Marxism, right? They weren't trying to drive living standards down to make everything fair. You know, they weren't trying to, you know, bring the earth into balance with chaos. They understood Marxism. I mean, just song after song, I'm reading you the basic Marxist lyrics. This is beautiful stuff. This is our movement. This is our tradition. We should all know these songs by heart. Everywhere we go, we should be singing these songs. This is exactly what people need to understand. Every one of these songs, we should be singing them by heart, at the top of our lungs all the time. This is our movement. This is our culture. This is what we're fighting for. Right? This is great stuff. This is great stuff. Right? Yeah, I'm trying to think what other good ones there are out there, right? That are particularly good, right? Did you get the super chat about the French military? Oh, let me roll back. I don't think I got it. About the French military. Strike, yeah, which figure would it be? I'm not seeing French military here. I'm seeing, the nuclear thing. I'm seeing William Z. Foster. I'm not seeing Happy May Day, comrades. What do you know about the French military threatening to overthrow the French state? Oh, my goodness. I haven't seen that. French military threatening French state. I haven't seen that, so I'm writing that down. There we go. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't want to miss that one, but yeah, I actually don't really know what to say about that. Let me see if there's any other good May Day songs for me to recite. Which side are you on? That's a good one. Which side are you on? Lyrics. Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? They say in Harlan County, there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a Union man or a thug for J.H. Blair. Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? My daddy was a miner, and I'm a miner's son, and he'll be with you, fellow workers, until this battle's won. Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Oh, workers, can you stand it? Oh, tell me how you can. Will you be a lousy scab, or will you be a man? Which side are you on, boys? Which side are you on? Come all of you good workers, good news to you I'll tell, of how the good old Union has come in here to dwell. That's great stuff, great stuff. Oh, we'll do There is Power in a Union. That's a good one. All right. There we go. Would you have freedom from wage slavery, then join in the grand industrial band? Would you from misery and hunger be free? Come on, do your share, lend a hand. There is power in a band of working folks when they stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land, one industrial union grand. Would you have mansions of gold in the sky, but live in a shack way in the back? Would you have wings up in heaven to fly, but starve here with rags on your back? But there is power in a band of working folks when they stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land, one industrial union grand. If you like sluggers to beat on your head, then don't organize, and all unions despise. If you want nothing before you are dead, shake hands with your boss and look wise. But there is power in a band of working folks when they stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land, one industrial union grand. Come all you workers from every land, and come join the grand industrial band. Then our share of this earth shall demand. Come on, do your share, lend a hand. There is power in a band of working folks when they stand hand in hand. That's a power that must rule in every land, one industrial union grand. That's great stuff. I love that stuff. I could listen to that stuff all day. What I mean, this is what people should be singing all the time, right? I'm trying to think of if there's any I haven't done yet. Any good ones I haven't done yet. Right? There's power in a union. What other good ones? Anyone wants to suggest one I haven't done already? Go for it. Right? These lyrics need to be burned into our consciousness. right? This is just amazing. This is just amazing stuff, right? Yeah. Uh, uh, oh boy, oh boy. We did Pie in the Sky. We did Which Side Are You On? Um, those are the more popular ones. I like the more obscure ones that have the full manifesto in them, like Commonwealth of Toil. And yeah, I mean, this is just great stuff. This is just great stuff, right? Um, yeah. Uh, right? Oh boy. I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you or me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, said he. I never died, said he. In Salt Lake City, Joe, says I, him standing by my bed. They framed you on a murder charge, says Joe, but I ain't dead. Says Joe, but I ain't dead. The copper bosses killed you, Joe. They shot you, Joe, says I. Takes more than guns to kill a man, says Joe. I didn't die, says Joe. I didn't die. And standing there as big as life and smiling with his eyes, says Joe, what they forgot to kill went on to organize, went on to organize. Joe Hill ain't dead, he says to me. Joe Hill ain't never died. Where working men are out on strike, Joe Hill is at their side. Joe Hill is at their side. From San Diego up to Maine, in every mine and mill, when working men defend their rights, it's there you'll find Joe Hill. It's there you'll find Joe Hill. I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you or me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, said he. I never died, said he. And that song, right now, that song was written by I believe, was it Robert Meerpool? Was that his name? Uh, uh, Joe Hill, I believe it was Meerpool, right? Right. Who wrote that song? But right, well, the author was somebody named. Yeah, yeah. The author of that song was somebody named Meerpool. But he wrote another song, which sometimes you'll hear as a patriotic song. And it's a communist, Albert Meerpool, right? Albert Meerpool. You'll hear it as a patriotic song, and you'll hear like the watered down lyrics to it. You know, but it was written by the same guy, and it was written. I mean, he was a card carrying member of the Communist Party, Abel Meerpool. Abel Meerpool. So yeah, let's see if we can get the lyrics to this song. Right? This is, yeah, here we go. Now, this was also written by a communist. You would have no idea this song was written by a communist. Right? What is America to me? A name, a map, the flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? The house I live in, the friends that I have found, the folks beyond the railroad, and the people all around, the worker and the farmer, and the sailor on the sea, the folks who built this country, that's America to me. The words of old Abe Lincoln and Jefferson and Payne, of Washington and Jackson, and the tasks that still remain, the little bridge at Concord where freedom's fight began, our Gettysburg and Midway, and the story of Bataan, the house I live in, my neighbors white and black, the people who just came here or from generations back, the town hall and the soapbox, the torch of liberty, a home for all God's children, that's America to me. The house I live in, the goodness everywhere, a land of wealth and beauty with enough for all to share, a house that we call freedom, a home of liberty, but especially the people, that's America to me. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Right? And when Frank Sinatra recorded it, they cut out all the radical verses, all the my neighbor white and black. They weren't going to have that in the era of Jim Crow. They weren't going to have the stuff about immigrants. They didn't have the stuff, a land of wealth and beauty with enough for all to share. You know, there's a very watered down version of that song out there, but it was originally written by a communist. Yeah, it's great stuff. Great stuff. What other lyrics? What other lyrics can we do? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I mean, this is not exactly like an ancient song, but it's really important to sing in the times that we're living here. So I'm not going to sing it. I'm going to speak it for you, like I have been. But I guess I can recite this on here. Um, I guess I can recite this on here, even though this is more written. It was recorded in 1965 by another folk singer, Phil Oakes. Oh, I marched in the Battle of New Orleans at the end of the early British War. The young land started growing, the young blood started flowing, but I ain't marching anymore. For I've killed my share of Indians in 1,000 different fights. I was there at the Little Big Horn. I heard many men lying, I saw many more dying, but I ain't marching anymore. It's always the old who lead us to the wars. It's always the young to fall. Now look at what you've won with your saber and your gun, and tell me, is it worth it all? For I stole California from the Mexican land. I fought in the bloody civil war. Yes, I even killed my brothers and so many others, but I ain't marching anymore. For I marched in the battles of the German trench, in a war that was bound to end all wars. I must have killed 1,000,000 men, and now they want me back again, and I ain't a marching anymore. It's always the rich that lead us to the wars, and it's always the poor who fall. Now look at all we've won with our saber and our gun, and tell me, is it worth it all? I flew the final mission in the Japanese skies. I set off the mighty mushroom roar, and when I saw the cities burning, I knew that I was learning that I ain't marching anymore. Now the labor leaders scream when they close a missile plant, and United Fruit screams at the Cuban shore. You call it peace or call it treason, call it love or call it reason, but I ain't marching anymore. That's great stuff. Yeah, Phil Oakes, we need more of that in our time. We need more of that. Oh, and then, right? Here's another good one. Here's another good one. This is a good one. All right. This is a wobbly song mocking the Christians who support imperialism and war. Onward, Christian soldiers, duty way is plain. Slay your Christian neighbors, or by them be slain. Pulpiteers are spouting evanescent swill. God above is calling you to rob and rape and kill. All your acts are sanctified by the Lamb on high. If you love the Holy Ghost, go pray, go murder, pray, and die. Let the gentle Jesus bless your dynamite. Onward, Christian soldiers, rip and tear and smite. Splinter skulls with shrapnel, fertilize the sod. Folks who do not speak your tongue deserve the curse of God. Smash the doors of every home, you pretty maiden seize. Use your might and sacred right to treat them as you please. Onward, Christian soldiers, eat and drink your fill. Rob with bloody fingers, Christ okays the bill. Steal the farmers' savings and take their grain and meat. Even though the children starve, the Savior's bums must eat. Burn the peasant cottages, orphans leave bereft. In Jehovah's holy name, wreak ruin right and left. Onward, Christian soldiers, drench the land with gore. Mercy is a weakness, all the gods abhor. Bayonet the babies, jab the mothers too. Hoist the cross of Calvary to hollow all you do. File your bullets, noses flat, poison every well. God decrees your enemies must all go straight to hell. Onward, Christian soldiers, blight at all you meet. Trample human freedom under pious feet. Praise the Lord whose dollar sign dupes his favored race. Trust in mock salvation. Make the foreign trash respect your bullion brand of grace. Trust in mock salvation. Serve as tyrants' tools. History will say of you, that pack of goddamn fools. Yeah, that's powerful stuff there. That's powerful stuff. I remember discovering those lyrics when I was during the during the Iraq War, as I heard all these evangelicals supporting the invasion of Iraq, and that I read those lyrics and I felt very sanctified because that was basically what I was listening to. So, yeah. Ugh, good times, good times. What else? Ah, why not do one for some utopians, right? Um, this one was in honor of the Diggers, right? It was actually written in 1975, but the Diggers, they were an uprising during the English Civil War that tried to have, a utopian commune. So we'll do that one. In 1649, to St. George's Hill, a ragged band they called the Diggers came to show the people's will. They defied the landlords, they defied the laws. They were the dispossessed, reclaiming what was theirs. We come in peace, they said, to dig and sow. We come to work the land in common and to make this wasteland grow. The earth divided, we shall make whole, so it can be a common treasury for all. The sin of property we do disdain. No man has any right to buy and sell this earth for private gain. By theft and murder they took the land, and now everywhere the walls spring up at their command. They make law to chain us well. The clergy dazzle us with heaven, or they damn us into hell. We will not worship the God they serve, the God of greed who feeds the rich while poor men starve. We work, we eat together, we need no swords. We will not bow to the masters or pay rent to the lords. We are free men, though we are poor. You diggers all, stand up for glory, stand up now. From the men of property, the orders came. They sent their hired men and troopers to wipe out the diggers' claim, tear down their cottages, destroy their corn. They were dispersed, only the vision lingers on. You poor, take courage. You rich, take care. This earth was made a common treasury for everyone to share. All things in common, all people one. We come in peace, the orders came to cut them down. Right? That's beautiful. That's very beautiful. Right? This is working class tradition. Right? This is the working class tradition. Great stuff. Uh, oh, this is one that there's a little bit of controversy about, right? I'm just going to read the lyrics again. I hope this is okay. It's certainly much more recent than others. But I guess I'll end my lyric reading session, and then we'll have our roll call after I read this one. And honestly, this song, some communists hear this song, they don't like it. Other communists love this song, and people of different opinions like and dislike this song. So I'll just read the lyrics. He was one of those dogged old men who lived in the past, telling stories you don't want to know about how it was then, the hunger, the hardship, the hopes and the struggles of so long ago. And we must have looked bored from the sparks of the cinders, how his eyes glowed with anger. His words seemed to burn. He said, I will be heard, for my life is not over. I've something to say yet. You've got something to learn. He said, you who have nothing at all to believe in, you whose motto is money comes first, who are you to tell us that our lives have been wasted and that all that we fought for has turned into dust? I was only a lad when I read that in Russia, the workers, the Soviets, had taken all power, and the man they called Lenin who led them was our inspiration. His triumph was our finest hour. And I'll always remember how fear shook the wealthy, like thieves who have just been called out in their crime. But we, who had known only war and the workhouse, rejoiced that a new world was born at that time. You can't know what it meant, or the pride that we felt, to know working people, people like us, could shake off the shackles and topple the palaces and remake the world without ruler or boss. It was this kept us going, this dream of a new world, through all the dark years of defeat and despair. When we who were proud to proclaim ourselves communists fought for a world free from hunger and fear. It was down with the means test, no cuts in our wages. We want 3 pounds a week and a 7-hour day. There wasn't a thing that we got, but we fought for it. Don't you know the bosses give nothing away? And the strikes and the marches to beat off the bailiffs and coppers when hope was still young. Hot heads and hot hearts as we tested our power. The workers triumphant. That was our song. For a time he was silent and lost in his memories. But then more swiftly his words came again. Perhaps we fought for too much. Perhaps the cost was too much. There are things we know now we couldn't know then. We believed revolution was just around the corner, and we were the vanguard to bring it about. And the other left parties we classed as class traitors, bourgeois social fascists. Of that we had no doubt. But then the times changed. We campaigned for the Popular Front. The old line might never have been, but we led the workers in combating fascism, Mosley in London and Franco in Spain. We believed we were history's chosen, and Soviet Russia, our future, our heart, and our soul. And the 5-year plan was a vision of plenty for us who'd spent half of our lives on the dole. We knew of the trials and purges, of course, and were shocked when we heard our old comrades confess. But yes, we defended the first workers' state in the face of the slanders and lies of the press. And you who have nothing at all to believe in, you whose motto is money comes first, who are you to tell us that our lives have been wasted and that all that we fought for has turned into dust? You may think we were duped, but we paid for our dreams. Broken lives, broken marriages, jobs lost and jails. Some lost heart in the left. Some betrayed us for medals. There's always a few turncoats whose souls are for sale. But the best of us never surrendered our vision, and we kept the faith through the bleakest defeat. Do you think that was easy? Surrounded by hatred, the sneer of indifference, the hurt of deceit? And our lives were made rich by the cause that we fought for, the friendship, the fellowship, sharing one pain, to transform society and end exploitation. And that day will come yet, but not in my time. And again he was silent, and what could we tell him? That the world was different, that he'd had his day, that an old man's dream was not our concern? But still he had something he wanted to say. Now when I look back, I see what we fought against: homelessness, hunger, injustice, and war. But what did we fight for? What dream did we strive for? I used to know once, now I'm no longer sure. But you who have nothing at all to believe in, you whose motto is money comes first, who are you to tell us our lives have been wasted and all that we fought for has turned into dust? He was one of those lonely old men who live in the past, telling stories you don't want to know, about how it was then, the hunger, the hardship, the hopes, and the struggles of so long ago. Yeah, The Song of the Old Communist by Leon Rosselson. Very, very good. And some people hear that as anti-communist, or I don't hear it that way. I hear it a little bit differently. So there you go. And I know a lot of communists who really like that song. All right, folks, since we're here, why don't we do our roll call, names and locations. I will call you out as I see you. And after that, I'll answer your super chats, and then you all can go to bed, and I can go to bed, and we can have a lovely May Day tomorrow. So Charles Cole is in Chicago. Got Travis in West Palm Beach. Ryan in Oakland. Arthur Porter is with us. Solidarity from Hawaii. Cole from Calgary. Montreal. Raphael is drunk. West Palm Beach. Maryland. West Palm Beach. Los Angeles. Tony in Tasmania. Nassau County. Char Darling. Work for All. Asbury, Texas. Brazil. Denver, Colorado. Parasocialite. Dust James in North Carolina. Paragus in Los Angeles. Happy May Day from New York City, says Io Hillary. Welcome. Caracas, Venezuela. Ramiro and Ophelia in East LA. Nazaire from Baldwin Park, California. Orlando, Florida. Louis in Boston. Valencia, Venezuela. Pomona, California. Adelaide, Australia. T in China. Shout out to you, T. Cyprus. Joe Gale in East Rockaway. Happy May Day. Right? Fort Lauderdale. Northern Michigan, Austin, Texas. right? Bendigo, Australia, David Fox. I'm in Montana, Mindanao to Midwest. Joe from Maryland, Ridge, Pennsylvania, very good. San Bernardino, California, very, very good. Very, very good. Good stuff. Good times, folks. Good times. Good times. Happy May Day from Temple City, Los Angeles. Spartacus from Elysian Fields. Elysian Fields, right? Is that how it's pronounced? Naples, Florida. Cleveland Pirate Alex. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Uh, all right. Jeremy in Sacramento. Yeah, very, very good. Very, very good. San Gabriel Valley, California. Kolkata, India. Happy May Day. Hi, Tamara, says Joe Howard. Very good. Very, very good. All righty. So much good communist music. I hope you all didn't mind me just reciting lyrics for the first 45 minutes there. That was fun. Alrighty, so the first super chat question: what was my favorite Oliver Stone film? I would say South of the Border, the film where he goes to all the anti-imperialist countries. He goes to Venezuela and tells the story of the Bolivarian Revolution. He goes to Cuba. He goes to Argentina and interviews Christina Kirchner. He goes to Bolivia and interviews Evo Morales. He shows how the U.S. media is biased. I love South of the Border. Great expose. Very, very good. All right. Chaya asked, is learning philosophy an asset, and should we study philosophy? Yes and no. There's a lot of, discussion of philosophy in our time that is just kind of, pathetic, intellectual wankery, people trying to prove how smart they are. But honestly, actual, understanding Marxist philosophy, historical and dialectical materialism, I think is worth it. It depends what approach you use to studying philosophy. If you use a serious approach to it, I think it could be a very useful and good thing to do. But if you use it as just an opportunity to, I don't know, like existentialism and a lot of that stuff is kind of, not productive. But some of it is pretty decent. So there you go. Alrighty. I think it's productive, but not everything out there is productive. Make a movie. If I could make a movie about any historical figure, who would it be? That would be William Z. Foster, the greatest American Marxist. So that was easy. All right. Racist. What's the story about William Z. Foster and the racist trope? Well, William Z. Foster led the great steel strike of 1919. And at the time, unfortunately, the American Federation of Labor, which was the main labor union, was racist. And William Z. Foster, in his understanding of the strike, realized that racism hurt the working class. And in his assessment of the strike and many of his writings, he reflects on the fact that racism has been a huge threat to the working class, and that the racism of the AFL unions and of the Socialist Party also, there were times where the Socialist Party was racist, that hurt the labor movement. So William Z. Foster, yes, and like in all his writings, he reflects on how the steel workers, and that this is misrepresented. There's a quote that's actually directly misrepresented in that Settlers book. You can look up the context of the quote. It's just blatantly misrepresented, taken out of context. But yeah, I mean, Foster has widely said that one of the main reasons the steel strike of 1919 was defeated was because of racism, right? That black people, because they were barred from unions, they were very happy to be scab labor because the unions didn't welcome them. And it was William Z. Foster and his leadership of the Communist Party that broke that. In 1934 in San Francisco, the dock workers union was black and white. And that's how they were able to be victorious. The black community supported it, right? And they won jobs for black dock workers, right? Because of getting beyond racism. So, and then making the black community benefit from the strike and bringing black dock workers into the union, it was victorious. It was the Communist Party of William Z. Foster that pushed racism out of the labor movement. The CIO, the Congress of Industrial Organizations, which was the communist breakaway from the AFL, they were anti-racist. There you go. I mean, it's just, it's like it's like they're missing the point. It was William Z. Foster and the Communist Party that saved the labor movement from racism, that introduced anti-racist struggle into the labor movement. So I mean, these people that they just, whatever. All right. Nuclear power. Nuclear power is good, okay? There are problems with it, but it's a lot safer than it used to be. The nuclear waste obviously is an issue, and we need to get fusion energy. Nuclear power isn't enough, but it's way better than, windmills. I'm sorry, they aren't going to cut it. They're good. I mean, I'm not against windmills, but they're not enough, right? Solar panels, again, they're good. I'm not against solar panels, not enough, right? If we're going to get beyond fossil fuels, we need a higher, energy source, and we need fusion energy desperately. We need nuclear power while we have it. So yeah. The French military threatening to overthrow the French state. My goodness, my goodness. I have not heard that. That's a big deal. I know that France is having a pretty big crisis right now, related to the situation of Muslims in the country, etc. And that there is really big turmoil in France right now. France, I mean, they've had long histories of, internal turmoil. There was a revolutionary crisis in France in 1968. A lot of people don't know that. And during the Second World War, communists were key in defeating the Nazis and like leading the anti-Nazi resistance in occupied France. And after the Second World War, the French Communist Party surged in membership. So there you go. All right. Any other questions people have before we call it a night? Any other questions people have on their minds? Speak now or forever hold your peace. This was just kind of a fun May Day Eve live. Happy May Day to everybody. We are going to come into the opening up. I have just, from what I understand, July 6th, New York City is opening up. We are going to march out of this pandemic like what do they say? Like a bat out of hell, right? Because the Center for Political Innovation is going to march forward. Right? We have so much we need to get done. In your view, is synthetic left? Yeah, synthetic left, afraid of communism. Communism, individualism. Yeah. We are going to come marching out of this, right? Libertarians, watch out, because libertarians, we are going to not give you a free moment. We are not going to give you a free moment. We are going to destroy the wretched ideology of libertarianism that says might is right, that compassion is a weakness, that celebrates the isolation of people. We are gonna smash libertarianism. And all the people right now who are mad about the wars and mad about poverty are going to realize that capitalism is the problem, not big government. We're gonna smash libertarianism. I didn't forget anybody's question. And on top of that, synthetic left, we're coming for you as well. You who want to sell imperialism and anti-communism in the name of socialism. You are going to be refuted. The people who get interested in socialism and Marxism are going to become tankies. They are going to hail the system that defeated the Nazis, and they're going to stand arm in arm with their class brothers and refuse to be lined up in a war against China. We need a government of liberals to fight the. Oh boy, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're coming. Synthetic leftism and libertarianism are going down. They're going down. They're going to be intellectually defeated, not physically defeated, but intellectually defeated, right? Libertarianism that is tearing apart this country, that is allowing us to have our crumbling infrastructure, allowing the bosses to drive wages down, stripping away labor protections, pushing free trade. Libertarianism is going down. Synthetic leftism that offers a pessimistic solution, that encourages depression and suicidal thinking, that encourages drug use, that wants to line up socialists to be allies of imperialism. You're going down as well. Watch out. The Center for Political Innovation is rising. We are going to defeat the synthetic left. We are going to defeat libertarianism, and real revolutionary anti-imperialist socialism, constructive patriotic socialism is on it's on the march. There's nothing you can do about it. The specter of real populism is hanging over the world. That's just a matter of time. Now, I'm going to answer Chaya's question. The synthetic left, are they afraid of communism because they fear protection of individualism? Look, there's always been a current within the revolutionary intelligentsia that is attracted to revolutionary ideas and Marxism simply because they are nonconformists. They are people that are nonconforming. They don't feel comfortable with society, and they are attracted to the releasing of impulses and feelings of rebellion. And that's, I mean, there's something to that, right? We've all been teenagers. We've all wanted to rebel. I mean, rebelling against, unjust working conditions is certainly admirable. And, there's many examples of people, protesting and fighting back. That's good. But ultimately, the goal of socialism is not to just unleash impulses and create a big explosion. The goal of socialism is to create that feeling of oneness and comradeship and brotherhood, the kind of oneness and brotherhood and sisterhood that you get from those songs I just read, and being a comrade and being in a revolutionary movement. That is ultimately what the goal of socialism is. It's to build a society where no one is left idle and no one is alone. And together, we work together as a human race to create the wealth and abundance that can create a good life for all. We're always marching forward. There is no limit to growth. There is only a limit to the irrational capitalist system that puts profits before people. Let me repeat that. There is no limit to growth. There is only a limit to profits. There is no limit to growth. There is only a limit to profits. There is no limit to growth. There is only a limit to profits. There is no limit to growth. There is only a limit to profits. There is no limit to growth. There is no limit to human reason. There is no limit to the relentless drive of human beings to create and to build and to improve their lives and to expand and to go beyond anything we've seen before. Human beings are the tool-making creature. They are unlike every other species, as Karl Marx and Frederick Engels clearly laid out. Other species only interact with their environment. But man, humanity, the tool-making creature, we have the ability to make the environment serve us, and we will continue to do it. We will continue to march forward to raise the human life expectancy, to increase living conditions, to get rid of all of the international, to get rid of all of the impediments and pains of this life until we collectively build a beautiful, beautiful world. All right, so I missed a super chat. The song The Internationale. The song The Internationale was composed during the Paris Commune. All right, Communist Party of the Russian Federation. Okay. KPRF. The Internationale was composed during the Paris Commune of 1871. Originally, the lyrics of the Internationale went to the tune of the French national anthem, La Marseillaise, da 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 da. Arise, you prisoners of starvation. I mean, it doesn't work in English, but originally it was to that tune. Eugene Portier wrote it, and it was the anthem of the Paris Commune. So yeah, that's where the Internationale comes from, the communist anthem. And the fist comes from the Paris Commune, because when they were executing the communards, they would line them up, and they would do this with their fists when they were being shot, and they would shoot them, and they would be killed like this, and put in shallow graves. And then one by one, there's something called rigorous mortem, which is your body, your muscles moving after you die. And so their fists would rise up from the ground. Their fists would actually, with rigorous mortem, they'd be shot like this, and their fists would rise up from the ground due to rigorous mortem. And the fist is a symbol of revolutionary immortality. So the Paris Commune and the fist, that's what we get, or the Internationale song and the fist, that's what we get from the Paris Commune of 1871. So there you go. Communist Party of the Russian Federation. Look, they're a very important political party in Russia. I've been to their headquarters. I've met, Zhuganov. I've met their presidential candidate, Pavel Grudinin, they're a serious party in Russia, but they are not. There's a lot of people in Russia who don't agree with them. I mean, they have a pretty solid base of people who like them. Certain neighborhoods, certain regions that really like them. But on top of that, there's a lot of people who don't like them. And there's a lot of people in Russia that I would say, are communists or are pro-Soviet, but don't like the Communist Party of the Russian Federation. The Communist Party of the Russian Federation has millions of members. Some of them are Orthodox Christians. Some of them are Marxist-Leninists. Some of them are more into Deng Xiaoping theory. And, it's a very pro-China party that handles a lot of Russian relations with China. But, it's just one party, right? And there are a lot of people in Russia who like the Soviet past. who think the Soviet Union had good things despite whatever flaws existed, but don't particularly like the Communist Party of the Russian Federation. Actually, I noticed that there's the MMA fighter, the mixed martial arts fighter. What's his name? I can't remember his name. He's a mixed martial arts fighter. Jeff Munson. He moved to Russia. He joined the Communist Party. But he ended up, joining a different party. He didn't, even though he still considers himself a communist, he didn't really like the Communist Party. So, there are differences there. And there are other socialist parties in Russia that are, significant. So, I don't endorse any party in Russian politics because I'm not, capitalism co-opts and neutralizes criticism. I don't endorse any party in Russia. I'm just telling you that, they have a lot of people in the Communist Party, but there's also a lot of people that aren't with them, right? That Russian politics is more complicated than just, the Communist Party versus everybody else. So there you go. Capitalism co-ops and neutralizes criticism. Look, one thing that I've actually thought is interesting is there's a concept called throwing the newspaper over the fence. Throwing the newspaper over the fence. And I've seen this many times. And this really explains, in a lot of ways, you can interpret breadtube, but a lot of other things in this context too, right? Communists, used to be known for selling newspapers, right? And that was, the Communist Party had a newspaper, the Trotskyites had a newspaper, the Socialists, the Maoists had a newspaper. And sometimes, right, you might be at a government office or something, and you might have, you hear old stories of the communists, that they would go to a government building or something, and they would throw the newspaper over the wall, right? And they would just, they might be outside, some government building or some factory or something. They would throw the newspaper over the wall. When you throw the newspaper over the wall, you don't know who's reading it on the other side. You don't, right? And it may just, sit there and get taken out with the garbage, or somebody might actually read it. And often ideas from the radical movement, get picked up by more mainstream forces, right? And I've seen that happen with these lives, okay? And I don't want to get into detail, but I know for a fact there are some very prominent people who watch these lives, who have way bigger audiences than I do, who have to be a lot more careful about what they say. But, it's like they talk about the Velvet Underground. You ever heard of the Velvet Underground? It was a rock band in the 60s, right? Kind of obscure, but the Beatles bought every Velvet Underground album and listened to it, and it had a huge impact on the Beatles. But the Velvet Underground, because they were more, fringe, they were like an underground band, they could take risks that the Beatles couldn't take. And that happens, right? And I've noticed that a lot of times what happens is that, so we will do something on the outside, right? We will throw the newspaper over the wall, so to speak. And then we'll see the power structure imitate what we're doing in an attempt to try and have a version of it that they can control. And it's a really common pattern. There are some weird parallels. There'll be some radical group, some communist group or something that'll do something, and then you'll see the power structure do it in a much more controlled and careful way, right? A great example would be, just talking about communism itself, right? Talking about socialism. Nobody was talking about communism and socialism until, and then when the financial crisis happened, all of a sudden the ruling class said, okay, we have to find somebody to do it. And they pick up a theme in the radical circles, and then they kind of redirect it to them. Who invented the term prison industrial complex? Right? Angela Davis, right? Communist Angela Davis. Well, now the concept of the prison industrial complex and mass incarceration is widespread, but it doesn't come with, supporting East Germany and, being a communist, right? But it was communists who talked about the prison industrial complex and that threw the newspaper over the wall, so to speak, and eventually the power structure picked up that concept and ran with it. And there's many examples of this, right? Of things that, unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance, for goodness sakes, right? Where do you think that came from? It was in the Communist Party platform in the 1932 election. That's where they came up with it, right? Unemployment insurance was basically invented by the Communist Party. And so it can be a good thing because it shows that, that there's a hunger for what we have to offer, but it can also be a bad thing, right? Because they will deliver it in a way that's not revolutionary, right? I mean, if communists have a rally for unemployment insurance, we explain the problem is capitalism. This is just a demand. We want to overthrow the system. If the capitalists create unemployment insurance, they do it to reassure everyone that we don't need a revolution, right? And that kind of thing happens, right? This is a common pattern, right? And it happens on a smaller scale. Like these lives, I'll tell you, there are some very prominent people who I will not name who watch these lives very closely. Bigger names. They're not in the government, but they're just bigger people on social media than me. And they watch what I do, and sometimes they will pick up stuff that I do and run with it. And what I think is interesting is that, we have a smaller audience here. We're tankies and all of that. And so we can take risks that these folks can't take. These folks, they have a lot more to lose. And so they test the waters and they push the envelope. So that's another thing you have to remember. In some cases, that's good. In some cases, it's not so good. But it's weird, folks. It is really, really weird to see something that is the most, that some really tiny, obscure communist group is doing. And suddenly, like, the mainstream is picking it up. It's really absurd. But I can't tell you how many times I have seen something like that. I mean, there's some weird shit out there. Folks, anyone ever watch The Office? The show The Office, right? It was just this dumb comedy show, right? What's his name? Steve Carell was in it. I'll tell you, there were 2 episodes of The Office that were like, clearly the writers were paying attention to the left, right? This is bizarre, right? So for a long time, I was a member of the Workers' World Party, right? And the youth organization of the Workers' World Party was called FIST, Fight Imperialism, Stand Together. And we were mentioned on the Glenn Beck show. Glenn Beck did an attack on FIST. And I will never forget, about a year later, on The Office, on the episode where Dwight becomes the boss, in order to challenge and annoy Dwight, all right, pre-Tiananmen, all right, in order to challenge Dwight, one of the characters starts FIST, which is this club he starts at the office. And he starts putting up posters all over the office with the symbol of a fist. It says, join FIST. And so then Dwight walks up to him and says, what's FIST? And he says, FIST, it's kind of like the French Revolution or the Black Panthers or communism. So basically, there was like an obscure reference to this tiny little like communist youth group I was in that got mentioned on the Glenn Beck show, FIST. We were like, that was on The Office. That was bizarre. It was very, very bizarre. Another episode of The Office, and again, this was very, very odd, right? So one episode of The Office, the boss character, I can't remember, the boss and Dwight, they're driving down the street. And they said, so what restaurant are we going to go to? IHOP or Denny's, right? And the one character says IHOP. He says, IHOP, for goodness sakes, IHOP. And he looks at him and he says, you socialist. And that's like, what sense does that make, right? Why is IHOP socialist? Why is the one character accusing the other of being a socialist for wanting to go to IHOP? Well, that's because the Spartacist League was boycotting Denny's. There was the Spartacist League, the crazy Trotskyite group. For years, they would boycott Denny's. They had picket lines in front of Denny's, and they were on a recruiting drive. And all throughout America, they would set up at Denny's with their crazy, like, Trotskyite signs, right? And you're right, IHOP actually supports the Republican Party, but Denny's was being boycotted by the Spartacists, right? So that was like a really bizarre, obscure leftist reference, right? That, like, I mean, but for in the 90s, the Spartacists would set up on Sunday morning. They would protest outside of Denny's with their leaflets, against Denny's. The Spartacists had don't eat at Denny's and learn about revolutionary Trotskyism and crazy stuff, picketing Denny's. And people used to laugh about it because it's like, they imagine some like normal middle American family, going to Denny's, and there'd be the Spartacist League out there with like a sign that says like, for a socialist federation of the Near East, smash capitalism. They're like a crazy ultra-left Trotskyist group, but they were protesting Denny's for some reason. I don't know why they were protesting Denny's, but the fact that, he wouldn't go to Denny's and go to IHOP, that's clearly a reference to the Spartacist League. So, like, these obscure references somehow get into the culture. Have you ever seen the movie They Live? They Live. Have you ever seen? I don't know if you've ever seen They Live, right? It's a movie. It's a movie that was made in the '80s. Um, and it's like a sci-fi movie about space aliens and stuff. But John Carpenter, the director, he says that it's clearly intended to be an anti-capitalist metaphor. And if you watch it, it's like I mean, it's pretty clear that whoever made it was paying attention to the RCP. All the aesthetics of the 1980s Bobavakian group are there. At one point they go to the headquarters of the revolutionaries, and there's a guy outside the headquarters with a gun, and he's standing there, and he's like, "Something's going down, brother." And then they go in, and then they've got like the leader of the revolution. They've got him like on a VHS tape, like that's like where he's talking into the VHS tape from obscurity, and they're all like paying attention to it. It's like the revolutionaries in that movie. John Carpenter admits it's anti-capitalist. The revolutionaries in that movie are modeled on the RCP, and the RCP got a lot of press in the '80s because they were burning the American flag. They took it to the Supreme Court, and they had a big chain of bookstores at that point where they would have VHS tapes of their great leader Bob Avakian in exile. They would put on, and the whole room would watch, and it was clearly they were LARPing for the RCP, and the keffiyeh aesthetics and leather jackets, and yeah, the RCP, they would all wear leather jackets and like the Palestinian keffiyeh, and they would put on. Bob Avakian was in exile in France, but they had VHS tapes they like smuggled into the country to show Bob, and they would put him on, and it's clear if you watch the John Carpenter movie They Live, they're referencing they had looked at the RCP, this obscure Maoist group that was getting a lot of publicity at the time, and they had like modeled the revolutionaries in the movie on the RCP. So I mean that's okay, right? I mean, again, it's throwing the newspaper over the wall, right? And that a lot of times, people that are trying to have an influence, like Left Forum, right? For years I used to go to Left Forum. The Left Forum, they keep an archive of everything that goes on at the Left Forum, and it's like a university. I forget, is it Pace University or NYU or one of them? They favorite movies. They actually keep an archive of all the people, all the talks, everything. And that archive is there, and a lot of academics and intellectuals and all kinds of people go and study the Left Forum, and they have this big archive. Um, is the leader of the Society in Demolition Man? I don't know what Demolition Man is. I've never seen it. So there you go. Okay, pre Tiananmen. Yeah, in Nicholas Kristof in the New York Times, I tweeted it out today, talked about how in the lead up to the Tiananmen protests of 1989, the student organizations that eventually led the Tiananmen protests were lynching black students. They were going around China and having race riots because they were angry that the Chinese government had a scholarship program for black Africans. And nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that. The Tiananmen protesters were all supposed to be singing Kumbaya, and they were John Lennon there. And, I actually wrote an article, which I tweeted out today. I wrote an article, Tiananmen, in 2016, Tiananmen, Trump, and the American Psyche. Everything you think you know about the Tiananmen incident is wrong. It's very tragic. That's true. A lot of people died, and it was deeply sad what happened. But the narrative that you have of it is absolutely wrong. A lot of the students were motivated by racism. Some of the people protesting there were hardliner neo-Maoists who wanted to go back to the Gang of Four. And some of them were motivated by all kinds of different things. And, the witnesses said that the students dispersed peacefully. The killing happened outside the square, and it was a battle, not a massacre. They were shooting at each other, and Chinese soldiers got killed. And everything you think you know about the Tiananmen events of 1989 is wrong. Was there an incident in Tiananmen Square in 1989? Of course. Did a lot of people die? Yes. Did a lot of innocent people die? Yes. But was the narrative of it that you have, is that correct? No. And in fact, that famous Tank Man picture, that Tank Man picture was taken the next day after the square had already been cleared. There were no protests going on in the square. That whoever that tank guy was with the flag just thought, hey, I'm just going to go into the square and stand around with my flag. And there was no protest going on. the narrative that you have in your head, which is that the students were sitting there singing "Kumbaya" and the soldiers just ran over them all with tanks. That's not what happened. The tank guy picture, that was the next day. The students dispersed peacefully, according to Nicholas Kristof, according to James Miles of the BBC, and according to WikiLeaks cables from the Chilean government. So, everything you think you know about that incident is wrong. Read my article on it. Favorite movies? My goodness, I could go on all day. V for Vendetta is a great movie. I like that. Reds, even though it's kind of subtly anti-communist, I like Reds. Wow, what other movies do I really like? I've got a lot of movies I really like. Oh boy, I really like The Majestic. You ever see The Majestic? It's a movie about McCarthyism, made by Jim Carrey. I love that movie. I've watched it many times. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. The Majestic. It's just beautiful. Beautiful film. Came out right around the time of 9/11. Very, very beautiful. All right, folks, my throat is killing me, and happy May Day to everybody. I'm going to cut it off here. A new upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression, but the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. While the danger of a new world war still exists and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. While the danger of a new world war still exists and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. And for the record, I hate the movie Red Dawn. I tried to watch it ironically and I got bored. It's just a boring movie. I thought it would be like ironically funny, like Patrick Swayze and all of that. But it was just awful. I mean, I when I watched the movie Red Dawn, since it's up in the chat, the part of the movie where like the dad is behind the fence and he's like, "Avenge me! Avenge me!" I was sitting there laughing. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I thought I would like Red Dawn because I'm a communist and I thought it would be like ironic. No, it's an awful movie. And at one point, it's like John has a long mustache, and then the kid has the tracker in his bag, and they have to kill their friend because he narked on them to the. I mean, it's an awful, awful, awful movie. It's an awful, awful movie. I mean, it's unwatchable. I don't think I've ever been able to watch it all the way through. It's so bad. So there you go. Yeah, they redid it a few years ago, and yeah, I protested it and all that. Yeah, we all know about that. Yeah. A new upsurge in the struggle against U.S. imperialism is now emerging throughout the world. Ever since World War II, U.S. imperialism and its followers have been continuously launching wars of aggression, but the people of various countries have been continuously waging revolutionary wars to defeat their aggression. While the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared, revolution is the main trend in the world today. While the danger of a new world war still exists, and the people of all countries must get prepared. Haven't seen it. Revolution is the main trend in the world today. Good night.